Alrighty, just got the wood heater running here. Sometimes I leave it running during the day. I just chuck in a whole heap of old crap, basically. Some of this stuff that's been, well, a lot of this has been cut off the ones that were in front of the bedroom that were just rotten to bits. Because I realised if we're going to pull it out with the tractor, we might need to get rid of all the branches first if it's going to actually drag behind the tractor. So a lot of it's really low quality, you know, to be partly rotten on one side or whatever. But when you got a lot of wind, and we've had quite a bit of intermittent rain today, it's just good to have that sort of a thing. You know, I am absolutely flooded in wood to the point it's ridiculous. And yeah, so it's no big deal to use a bit up. In fact, I'm going to go get threw that in there. I'll get some more in a minute. Yeah, here's a bit of stuff that's got to go in the bin. I'll be burning one of these tonight. And yeah, well, the long and short of it is whole new wall on this end. Now, the original wall line is about there. I've trimmed it in a bit. So it used to, like this little cover. This is me vent. It's not very high, but by hell, it works brilliantly. And it's the one above the stove. So I just got like a little range hood thing in there, and it doesn't actually have a fan, but this thing works fine. And it really does like draw the stuff out. It doesn't sort of, you know, but it's, you know, covered right over the top of the stove, so it's almost like everything's forced to go up there. I saw one that was made out of chipboard, and I decided, well, if I can make it out of chipboard, I will too, but you've got to have it fairly high above the stove. But anyway, I've got this little cover here, and this cover originally, you know, it covered all the weatherboards, but now it's sort of overlap between the two. I had such a shitstorm, I actually ended up putting a hammer through one of the weatherboards, because to go from this one here back to this beam in the wall, there's such like it's a blooming height difference of bloody 3/4 of an inch, and the bastard would not sit flat. And I thought I had it, and then I put nails in, and there's some bits twanging, and as I'm putting this nail, it just split the shit out of it. I split a bit of this side, and then I tried there, split that side, and I just cracked the shit and just went straight through with the hammer. But it basically, a fair bit of it had split to bits already, so anyway, I just put sheet metal there. That sheet metal was part of that, which I had running down that side there. I know I should have used silicone, but I've used acrylic gap filler, and I must admit I've seen it on the back of some solar panels, so she can't be too bad. I've still got to do a little bit of a thing on the end of this. I've got a aluminium drink can, and there's a way you basically put on a bit of an aluminium drink can and rivet on it. I might need to trim this a bit further back here for the lower part. So it's just like a little loop thing. I've already had to trim it back a bit because, of course, that got, you know, it was out here somewhere. It got stepped back. So, but anyway, these are all the offcuts from the front of the place, from the bedroom wall, and some of these were the ones who had a few too many knots. So, and that had a big ass knot there, and you get these little gaps here where there's like just a bit of sap has been, and it's just, you know, become a hollow gap as it's been kiln dried. The sap sort of dripped out or whatever. Yeah, there's a few of those. They're not really the best quality, but it's Baltic pine, and I'd hazard a guess and say it'll be Russian. Yeah. Oh, bitch. Missed a little one there. I have to do that. Anyway, that sort of worked out well. Probably going to leave this glass here. I may go and... So this is actually like a giant stump. It's the corner. It's all sort of a bit cratered because this must have been under the ground, so you can see it sort of dips in a little bit. But as you get sort of past about here, it sort of goes fairly nice. Someone's taken a hit out of there with an axe or something, but it's actually fairly nice beam. It is really super duper heavy duty. I think there's more than 4 inches each side. I'm probably going to whack another bit of cement sheet or something on the other side there. Or, you know, it doesn't really need to be much at all. It can be a blasted curtain for all that matters. Because in this area here, eventually, there's going to be a toilet. You might be able to see there's a bit of a gap down there. And I sort of, maybe we should move that. And I thought, no, you actually really need ventilation in a toilet. Like, stuff that. Like, people have exhaust fans. And there's a chance that you can buy these louver things. And I might actually go and, when this finally becomes a toilet, get one and cut a hole in that with an angle grinder or whatever, and rivet the damn thing on to that and silicone it on, so that there'll be an out vent there. Hang on, I've actually got one of these. Hopefully the sun doesn't interfere. See that one up there? One of them. So anyway, that might end up going up here or something like that. But I sort of like the idea of having that bit of a gap that you can see. There's a bit of blue plastic bag through there to give you that bit of ventilation. But basically from, probably about here on, that is going to become toilet eventually. Because that other one up over there, that's just... I'll put it like this, you wouldn't bother repairing. Like a lot of things around here, you just, it's not worth it. And my parents have suggested that probably be a good idea if I didn't have to walk out there. If I could just have one. I thought, where am I going to have one? Oh, you can put an extension on to stuff that. I'll just put it in the veranda. But yeah, we'll need something here, whether it's a bit of cement sheet or, I don't know, 3 layers of fabric. Super heavy curtain. I've actually got blinds too that I was going to put in front of the windows in the veranda. That's them there. They're not in the best condition, but you know, if they're just hanging flat and no one's attacking the shit out of them, I don't see what the trouble will be. Well, at least until the cat decides to put claws through them anyway. And I don't like her in the toilet. I never let her in the toilet. She's got this thing when I do go out. That's the inside. That looks really freaking good on camera, actually. Yeah, this here, I was sort of mounted it back here, and it was sort of bullshit. And it was this side and this side were going to line up, and this was going to miss it. So I sort of jacked it out a bit and had to clamp it. But it's got a screw in there. It's sort of held forward there. It's attached to the top and everything. It's not great, but it holds pretty well. I gave it a bit of a good shaking to make sure it was not going to crack or anything before I started putting these on. But as you can see, that's quite a nice little, fairly even looking result. That's the sheet metal. That's actually been cool room panel, like I've got on the bottom of the base of what was the flooring of the cardboard house, but still got the bit of polystyrene on the back. You can sort of cut it off if you know what you're doing and separate the sheet metal from the polystyrene. That's the big old stump. Look at the blimmin'. Look at how heavy duty it is. So I can tell that that's been underground just by the rot that's on it, but all the same, it's sort of worked fairly well. Yeah. So anyway, that'll mean that I've got to put a sewer line through back towards there, basically. Put a new tank and all that as well. Septic tank. It's a few $1,000s to do all this, but I'd rather, you know. Oh, I've got to do it one day. It's one of these things, but anyway, this is all raised up on stumps anyway, so we'll have a bit of room to put a pipe under that will actually, you know, not even be underground initially, because we're sort of raised up probably, it's at least 6 inches, maybe 8 inches off the ground here. And just to top it off, this is actually chipboard, but it's all Laminex. And this was I think part of a flat pack kit that he had, and he grabbed out of a dumpster somewhere. And so basically all of this is laminated chipboard, and I managed to make a floor out of it. So far it's all held on right, and so long as there's no water in there, it should hold on pretty right, you know. So anyway, sort of from here on, like near the door on, it's all back to floorboards. But when I actually initially had this place, that's formwork ply. There's a bit more laminated chipboard. When I initially had this place, he had the floor joists in here, but he just had pallets, and he had stuff on top of the pallets just thrown in here. A lot of newspapers, got the newspapers out, got the pallets out, and I was left with a whole bunch of floor joists and all this extra wood sitting around under the, well, it was under the front veranda, most of it, and so I just thought, rightio, well, away we go. So, and I finished it. And he could never quite finish anything, so these first couple of boards, I had to put those on. There's a bloody big gap under here, and this little piece wasn't on, and that front bit there. And I put that little bit on there, and then I thought, bugger it, I'm going to cover the front as well, and close it all in nicely. He just never quite finish anything. It was all 98% and then just stall. But anyway, that's that. I'm going to have to go cut all these. Surprisingly, no, at least the polycarbonate ones, you can cut them with a pair of scissors. Decent scissors. I went to cut some with some other bloody cheap scissors I had, and I friggin' cracked the scissors. Wouldn't believe it, the bloody handle snapped on me. Damn scissors are only a couple of months old, and I just, yeah. But there's an older pair I've got in there that's doesn't seem to be very heavy duty, but they have cut through this stuff previously, and yeah, so anyway, I've got to go and play with the downpipe in the front of the place too, so I've got to get all that done before sun goes down. I'm sort of actually midway through some washing as well.